here's my question. If I let an ink dry up in a pen, how can I clean the pen to ensure there isn't any dried ink left? I let mine sit for a couple of months, and though it didn't dry up completely, my pen did have a rough time trying to start writing. Well, yeah, what's happening there, especially a couple of months, that's kind of a long time, is some of the water is evaporated out. You've got kind of the dye concentrate that's left in there, and that dye is just not going to flow very well. You need to reconstitute it with water. Now, technically, if you wanted to, just draw a little bit of water up into the pen, kind of shake it around, you very roughly would be able to get it back to its original form, sort of, maybe. But generally, when I have a pen like that that's actually having some flow issues, or maybe you get some crusting on the nib, or in the the converter just gets kind of gunky and stuff because you've left the ink in there just flat out too long, it's usually best just to clean the whole pen out, clean it completely, and then put more ink in there. You know, the amount of ink that you're going to save of whatever has been dried up in your pen, it's not worth trying to salvage to get it to flow properly and be the right color and all that kind of stuff, because you're going to have a high amount of dye in there. It's going to completely change the color too, unless you can reconstitute it with water back to its original formulation, which is nearly impossible to do, especially once it's already in the pen. So that said, I would basically, you just flush it, flush it with water over and over again until it's clear. In that kind of situation though, you may want to use something like a pen flush to try to clean out anything that's dried up in there. Me personally, I preach to a lot of people that you should clean out your pen. If you're not going to be using it for more than a month, clean it out and then store it dried out. I do not necessarily practice what I preach there. I'm a busy guy and I love to ink up pens, love to try new colors and stuff like that. I am notorious for having pens that are half full of ink or need to be cleaned out and just kind of leaving them and picking up something else. I've got kind of a large collection of pens, and sometimes, it's just easier to grab and ink up another pen than it is to clean out the one you've got, and I'm really bad about that. So more often than not, the cleanings that I end up doing are full-on pen flushing, cleaning out old dried up ink, doing all that kind of deal. So the one thing I will say, I've got a video on using the pen flush, so check out the Goulet pen flush video if you want to see how that's done. But really, it's not rocket science. You're just using water to flush out as much as you can, then use a pen flush. That'll clean up a lot of what the water can't get, and then flush it with clear water again, and you should be good to go. If you've got ink that's really, really dried up in there and is really stubborn, and you're cleaning it, and it's still coming out kind of, the color of the ink, and it's not coming out as crystal clear water, then you need to keep on cleaning it. Basically, if you've got ink that's coming out with the water, you're doing something right. You're getting the ink out of there. You just got to keep going with it until it's done. I've had people that have written me before that had a pen that they found that must have been in a desk drawer for 10 years, 20 years, and it was inked up and crusty and stuff like that. And some of them had to clean it and maybe soak it for like a week or two before it finally was clean. So that's not unusual either. So that's definitely something you can do. And one trick that I like to do too, if you're just flushing water through the pen, it can be hard to tell if there's trace amounts of ink still left in there. But if you are using a paper towel or a napkin or something and touching, after you've cleaned it with water, kind of touch the nib to the paper towel and it'll wick out, water out of there. And if you got a bright white paper towel and you've got a blue ink or something like that in there, any blue that's left in there mixed in with the water is going to show really bad on that paper towel. And that will expose whether the pen still needs to be cleaned more or not. So there you go. And one thing I kind of mentioned, I'm not sure if I made it stand out enough, but to use soaking as a method too. Now, generally speaking, I like to just soak in plain water. If you've got a pen that has any metal components in it, I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't soak that in a flush mixture of any kind. I would just use water. But just letting a pen sit in water for a while can help. Now, if you've got a pen that's made out of casein or something like that that absorbs water, you don't want to soak it in water for a long period of time. You'll have to use your judgment. You definitely never want to soak it in any type of denatured alcohol or acetone or anything like that. You'd be amazed sometimes, but I get some people that send me emails and pictures and stuff of a pen that they've soaked in some kind of acetone or nail polish or something like that, and they end up with a liquefied pen because acetone will melt plastic. So want to stick away from those, but soaking can be a method that you use for, soak it for a couple of days to get dried up ink out of there as well. Okay.